A few years ago, I had a Suda by one of my Rebbeim during Purim, and he was known to be a Harif person. And I asked him, I said, listen, Rebbe, could you give me a bracha? Which was something he never did. So he responded, he said, you know, sometimes people have Torah, they have mitzvot, they have derech eretz, and then they grow a beard, and then they maybe put on a hat. But I guess for you, you can do it in the opposite order. I guess first you can have a beard, and then maybe you can have a hat, and then eventually you'll get Torah and mitzvot. At that time, I was like, it's quite a bracha. It's very interesting. But I mean, it was true. I was just religious for a couple of years, and I decided to grow out a long beard at the time, even longer than this. And I was wearing a hat, a suit all the time, and I think there's what he was saying. But that perspective, I don't think, was so wrong. Rav Dessler gives a whole Torah on Chanuakkah. That's a very beautiful idea. He says, you know, sometimes we run into people and, you know, they made some money and we're happy for them. But after time goes on and they come up to us and they say, hey, you know what? I made another deal. I made more money. I'm doing even better now. We're like, oh, that's nice. That's cool. But no longer are we so happy. When we personally, though, when we run into money, and have more and more and more, we get more and more happy. This is great, I'm making more money, this is wonderful. So Rav Dessler says, this is very much connected to the idea of spirituality. He says, you know, for the average person, when they celebrate Yom Tov, they celebrate a holiday, you know, they're excited in the beginning, but as time goes on, you know, hours, a couple days maybe, they're less excited, they start looking at the watch, they start looking at the calendar, you know, when's the Chag going to be over, and they lose that motivation, they lose that inspiration. Tzaddikim, on the other hand, with every single minute and every single hour and every single day that moves forward with Yom Tov, they get more and more excited. And I mean, I personally witnessed this. One of my Rebbeim, when I went and learned in Yeshivat Darchei Noam, Chappelle's, his name is Rav Mendel Farber, and he was such a special person, he is such a special person, that you saw on his face, he lit up. Every time it was a Chag, it was a Simcha. He was a little older. He was so happy. It gave him so much more energy. It enlivened him. And the more time went on, the more happy he got, the more energy he got. And ultimately, what's the difference between the average person who celebrates a Chag but loses that inspiration versus a tzaddik? When they celebrate the holiday, they just gain with every single minute and every hour that goes on. They get more and more lively. It's a difference between internalization and externalization. The internalization of a Chag that's when it affects me. When I'm making money and I make more money, that is great because it's me, I'm getting more. However, for another person, somebody that's outside myself, it's great in the beginning, yeah, congratulations, you're a friend of mine, I'm happy you made money. But as time went on, okay, you know, that's all right, this doesn't have so much to do with me anymore, and therefore I'm not as interested. Rav Dessler explains that there's three main ways of experiencing Judaism. And he corresponds it to levels of the soul. He says that a person who serves Hashem with their nefesh, it's a person who does things by rote. It's very, okay, this is what we do. I don't really put my mind into it, I don't put my heart into it, I just do it. He says there's a second level called ruach. That's more connected to the emotions. It's the person who serves Hashem with emotions. They're emotionally in it. But there's kind of a downfall there too, because sometimes emotions are fleeting. But he says a person who serves Hashem with their neshama, it's a person who's really internalized the lessons of the Chag, of the mitzvah, of the Torah. They let it impact them, and it changes them, and it transforms them into a much higher level of themselves that they ever thought possible. This leads to the machloket, the famous machloket between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel about whether we light the candles from 1 to 8 going up, or do we light from 8 candles to 1? Beit Hillel, obviously, we remember him saying that it's from 1 to 8. He says you should go up. Why? Because he says you should strive for the internalization of the experience. What do I mean? Beit Hillel knew that yes, right now I don't feel it, but I want to be on the level like the tzaddikim, that every day gets more and more light. It gets better and better. More and more joy, more and more happiness. Beit Shammai, on the other hand, said, you know what? Here's the deal. We're not on that level. Why should I lie to myself? I'm on the level of 8. Beautiful light, it's full. But each day that goes on, I'm less and less inspired. I want to be less and less involved. And I lose that motivation. So Beit Shammai says, you know what? I'm just serving Hashem externally, and therefore it's not really worth it. Let me be who I am. And hopefully I can work my way up. There's 2 potential ways in which we can attain personal growth, based off of Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Beit Hillel says we should imitate the tzaddikim. Yes, I'm not there yet. But you know what? At least let me try. Let my outward observance be on the way of the tzaddikim. And hopefully I keep in mind that I need to change my inside, but at least outwardly, I'm holding on a certain level. Beit Shammai says, listen, be consistent with who you are, know who you are, know where you're holding, don't try to fool people, don't try to even fool yourself. Just serve Hashem where you're holding. You do things by rote, do it by rote. If that's how you feel, you do things emotionally once in a while, do it that way. Okay, but be honest with yourself. There's pros and cons to each of these approaches. For somebody who's going to be like Beit Hillel, and they're going to imitate the tzaddikim, the pro is, that's great. You fake it till you make it. The actions are at least correct, and hopefully eventually the inside follows. But the con is that maybe this person's never going to actually achieve their potential. Maybe they're going to think, oh, look at how I act. I act correctly, therefore I feel correctly. I have internalized it. So they might not ever actually achieve the transformation of the internal, of the inside. And when it comes to an approach like Beit Shammai, the pro is that that's great. A person is being truthful. They're not fooling themselves. Which is, there's something to say for that, to be honest with yourself, to know where you're holding. However, the con is that if they know where they're holding, and they know they're holding so low, maybe they're going to think, you know what, look who I am, I'm this person, I'm never going to amount to much anyway, so therefore forget it. And they're also never going to achieve their potential. Rav Dessler explains that this machloket between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai is a machloket l'mahadrin min a-mahadrin. The highest level. Technically all you need is 1 candle a night, but they're talking about a different type of person. They're talking about a person who's constantly striving to grow in all areas of Torah, of connecting to Hashem. That's the person that they're talking to. And ultimately I believe that that's everybody that's even watching this right now. Beit Shammai, they said, you know what? Realize how low you are. And ultimately increase the inwardness. I know I'm low, but now I got to grow that. I know I'm so low, but I gotta work and I gotta improve that. Improve my sincerity. And the Sfat Emet actually says something on this idea. He says 8 to 1 symbolizes that a person is getting rid of that external facade, that fake self, and they're striving to that oneness. They're going from, I know I'm not really doing things so great, but I'm trying to get to that inner oneness, that inner unity, that inner sincerity. Beit Hillel, on the other hand, says, copy of the tzaddikim. Focus on who you can be. Don't focus on who you're not. Focus on who you can be. Remind yourself, you got to constantly add light, one to the next. Keep on adding light. Do more, because you know you can get to the farther places. So how do you avoid insincerity? You should be learning Chassidut, Musar, books that work on your character development of noticing and realizing who you are, but also where you can go and where you can achieve and what you can achieve. It's interesting to note that we paskin by Beit Hillel. Beit Hillel understood the psyche of the Jew. They understood where we were holding. They knew that you can't focus on the negative. You can't focus on that saying, oh, you know, I'm never going to be there. I'm so low right now. Because they knew that that perspective isn't going to elevate a person. What they said was focus on the positive, focus on going up. Malim b'kodesh, keep on going up. And eventually a person who stays positive and keeps their eye on the prize will eventually achieve what they desire. May we merit a Chanukkah of eternal light, of warmth and comfort for all of Am Yisrael. Chanukkah Sameach.